Hello everyone, my name is Seth Melamed. I'm Head of Business Development and Sales here at Quoine. I'm speaking to you today from our Tokyo office, and I'll be going over some questions that we've received from our community, both here in Japan as well as abroad. Okay, so the first question we got, I don't have the name who sent it, but I'll just read it off. Will one business day free crypto withdrawals be available in the future? In my opinion, it's a major selling point, so please don't change it. To pay a fee for faster withdrawals is okay as a complement to the free withdrawals, and our free weekend withdrawals of crypto coming as stated last year. So I've been with Quoine now just about a year and a half, and in that time, what we've seen in our customer surveys is one of the biggest pain points they've had with working with Quoine and Liquid is the delays in terms of processing client crypto withdrawals. And this is something that's been a big focus of mine dating back to, let's say, around a year ago. And we're really excited to announce that we have actually already implemented a new technology. It's a technology called multi-party computing that will help us to improve our service levels of crypto withdrawals. And what do I mean by improvements? So as many of you know, we currently are processing crypto withdrawals 2 to 3 times per day on weekdays. The service level means that we will be getting up to a service level where we'll be processing withdrawals. Our goal is actually to get to 1 withdrawal every 5 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Now, to get to that point, there's some interim improvements that we need to continue to work on. But the important news is we've already started this process, and clients have already seen some of the benefits. So as we stand here today, in early February, we're already processing withdrawals in Bitcoin and Ethereum roughly 10 times per day during weekdays, and one or two times per day on the weekends. This is going to quickly ramp up such that we'll be getting to a full suite of withdrawals 7 days a week. We're starting off, like I said, with Bitcoin and Ethereum, but we'll be expanding the scope of those currencies available for the fast withdrawal service such that by April, all currencies that are currently on the Liquid exchange will be covered. Now, along with this faster service, which has really involved a lot of engineering work, some partnerships with some external technology partners, and really implementing a state-of-the-art technology that's never been used in a cryptocurrency exchange environment, a couple important things that our user base really needs to understand. We have not made any compromise on the security of client assets. So what that means specifically is that client assets are still being kept in fully 100% cold wallet storage. The assets that are made available for faster withdrawals are a small percentage of Quoine's cryptocurrency assets. So we are improving our service levels, but we're not making any change to our basic approach of keeping client assets completely unavailable for any sort of hackers or frauds or those types of things. Now, along with this major investment that we've made in the process, we are also looking at models of introducing fee payment for crypto withdrawals. As everyone knows, whilst our withdrawals are slow, we also have never charged for withdrawals of crypto. So what we've done in order to make sure that the model that we implement eventually for the fees are in line with global practices and in line with what our user base is really looking for. I'm sure many people would like, instant withdrawals, less than 5 minutes with no fee, but that's probably not where we're going to land. And so we are looking at models to introduce fees, but they'll only be done after we've implemented the highest level of service for processing client withdrawal requests. And we are looking at models to potentially have people have a slower service level, but have no fee associated. I'm not promising that, but we're looking at it. And the way we're approaching it is making this a data-driven decision by going out to our user base and really understanding what our users want to see. So what I can say is big things are coming. We've already started this process. We're now in implementing additional phases to further expand the scope of currencies that are covered and actually speed up the process. And our goals that we have set, myself and our engineering team at the management level, we've really set a goal for ourselves to process all cryptos in 5 minutes or less by April 1st. And it's a wonderful journey. It's a huge change for us, and we're very excited about it. And I can't wait for all of our users to really see the benefits of this improved service. Okay, so next question here is, do you plan to expand fiat deposits and withdrawals for more currencies? The answer is yes. So currently we have about 5 different fiat pairings available on Liquid. And as we grow as a business and our user base expands around the world, we've also made major investments in our infrastructure to expand the scope of fiat currencies that we can support on the exchange. And the first sort of step in that direction is we're going to be adding in support for GBP or sterling trading pairs against Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cash, and even Ripple. And we'll be adding in additional fiat currency pairs over time. And again, what we're doing is we're looking at our global user base, and we're really trying to target where we see the most demand for those fiat pairs. We've really worked hard to build relationships with different banks around the globe that will give us the ability to offer first-party bank accounts in those respective fiat currencies. We have other currencies that are planned. Eventually, just like crypto, we want to be everywhere all the time, and so that means supporting different fiats in different local markets, and there'll be more announcements as we approach those local markets. So next question here is Liquid actively working on or considering forging partnerships in the UK with businesses and those in the regulatory space alike? So obviously the UK is an important market. We see it's really been the center of finance. Historically, London as a major financial capital, and also in the fintech space, there's so much investment and so many interesting startups happening in London. So we're definitely going to be involved. As I mentioned previously, we're going to start offering the GBP, but also we're looking to partner with payment providers to make the on-ramps and off-ramps easier and faster for our UK-based clients. So we're looking at implementing the faster payment service so that people will be able to deposit and withdraw their GBP very quickly. I can't really speak to any other specific partnerships with businesses in the UK, but certainly as a growing business, we have very open minds, and we're approached by all sorts of partners on a regular basis. Okay, so next question. Is there anything you're working on that you find particularly exciting that the community does not think to ask about? Yes, and I'm glad you asked that question. So I think in a lot of people in the crypto world, we get focused on the price action of Bitcoin or the price of Ethereum on a minute-by-minute basis and staring at charts and trading and this kind of stuff. And while that certainly is important, and the price is somewhat indicative of the health of the ecosystem, I think there's another story here. So if we think about the white paper written by Satoshi Nakamoto, wherever he is, Bitcoin and blockchain was really originally thought of as a better way to send and receive value among people, right? Where there is no intermediaries, there's lower cost, it's immutable, and you can do things on a peer-to-peer basis. And so in some ways, some of our focus here in the business development team at Quoine is to really go back to the roots of what blockchain was really about. So we are now engaging with some a very large merchant here in Japan, an online merchant that also has an offline business, to integrate with them and to make Bitcoin and crypto, even our cash token, as a method of payment for the products that they're selling. And we're starting from a basis where there's many people that are not even aware of this. There's many people in this online merchant that don't really have crypto. So what we're trying to do is partner with them to both raise awareness of their existing user base of crypto, and at the same time give them the ability to use crypto for purchasing the products that this company is selling online. And so what people who are on our exchange may not understand is that our mission is not only to provide an exchange, but part of our mission is actually to grow awareness and usage and adoption of crypto in the mainstream. And so we're really excited about that. I think you're going to see some news about this partnership. It's with a company based here in Japan that we've been speaking with, but we think the model, if successful, will help us to go to other businesses. We've launched this business, we're calling it Liquid Merchant Services, and we hope at the end that we have a lot more people involved in this wonderful technology, which eventually, for those who are interested in trading and investing, more adoption should actually lead for better price action as well, and better value for those people who are holding on to crypto. So next question. When you engage with institutions, have you noticed a difference in their interest and or understanding of this space over time? So that's a really interesting question. And I want to tell some background about my experience getting involved in crypto and blockchain. So I first found out about Bitcoin while I was working at a big bank in 2014. Mario had actually sent me some Bitcoin and given me a link to a wallet where I could download the wallet, and then I gave him the address and he sent me some Bitcoin. So that was, I guess, around 5 years ago at this point. And that sort of started my journey of learning about this technology, and the process of discovery really continued from there. So by 2015, I started attending some conferences about blockchain. And at that time, those conferences consisted of 5 or 6 people. We would pull up our tables and sit in chairs, and I would take out a notebook and take all kinds of notes. And there was not much advertising, and the conferences I went to, there was maybe 15, 20 people. But I really started learning, and I remember after attending one of these conferences, I came back to work and I started drawing up schematics and diagrams of how we could use blockchain to settle FX transactions. I was working at Goldman Sachs at the time, and I became almost obsessive about it. And I got to meet with many people in the firm and sort of was able to introduce them to the concept of blockchain and using cryptocurrency. And so at the time, many people, it was really their first time. This is 2015, then into 2016. Many people hadn't heard of it. But if we fast forward to 2019, I think most financial institutions already are aware of blockchain, are understanding of the possibility of how it can improve settlement times, lower risk, reduce costs. So what we're seeing today with financial institutions is really thinking about, what I hear a lot is financial institutions are really waiting for their end users to really demand and request that they need crypto in their as part of their investment strategy or as part of their settlement and clearing strategy. And that is still something, at least at the institutional level, is still a work in progress. So the other sort of major, I would say, obstacle when speaking with financial institutions about really wide-scale adoption is having a very good custody solution that will allow financial institutions to hold cryptographic assets in a secure manner. If you think about how shares of stock are custody today, or money that's held at a bank, it's very different than the way cryptographic assets are custodied with the blockchain as being the record and the private key as being the way to manage the movement of those assets. And so having a sort of blockchain-friendly custody solution is, in my opinion, and based on the feedback we get from institutions, one of the key hurdles that needs to be overcome in order for better adoption among institutions. And so in that vein, we've seen a whole bunch of ecosystem of digital asset focused custodial vendors that are starting to develop. And I'm really pleased to say that actually Quoine is developing our own custodial solution that's going to be quite different than a lot of the existing businesses that are out there and the different solutions that are being offered. So I don't want to say too much on this AMA about that now, but what I can say is we are engaging with some sort of existing custodial businesses that are looking for a digital asset partner to bring those sort of services to asset managers, to family offices, hedge funds, etc. And we have a good idea that this is something we're going to be able to offer as an additional service. Okay, so next question. What are the primary differentiators for Liquid relative to the other competitors' exchanges beyond cold wallet and regulation? Well, that's a great question. So I would say number one, let's not underestimate the importance of having a licensed regulated exchange. So in the past, I'd say roughly 2 weeks, we have seen 3 different exchanges have existential events where they're no longer operating, right? I think many in the community already know who these entities are. And the common theme you see about all of them is that they lacked regulation, they lacked licenses, and they lacked good governance that comes along with with that governance and the regulation and the licensing obligations. So we do think that as people entrust more and more of their assets with exchanges, that they need to be working with a partner that actually is going to be there for the long run. And that is a really important way that I think people should think about Liquid and Quoine as opposed to some of these other exchanges where, frankly and realistically, you can't be sure that they're going to be there tomorrow. In terms of how we operate, there's also some really key differences that maybe not everyone in the community is fully aware of. Let's talk about segregation of client assets. So here in Japan, for example, we are required on a daily basis to demonstrate that all obligations to clients, i.e. their deposits, are either met or exceeded by, on the fiat side, segregated bank account balances, or on the blockchain side, a designated wallet balance that exceeds the sum total of all of our clients' crypto assets that we are custodying. And so we actually have to do this exercise on a daily basis. And it's an incredibly important exercise because it shows that there's an integrity to our business, that we can prove to a regulator that all of our clients' assets are accounted for, and there is a much lower sort of counterparty risk for our clients that are working with Liquid and Quoine versus an unregulated exchange that doesn't have to go through this rigorous process of demonstrating segregation of assets. And so, someone could say it's a fat tail or a long tail event of a cryptocurrency exchange going out of business. I would tell you otherwise. And I think recent events with so many exchanges sort of going out of business very suddenly, where clients aren't always able to get their assets returned, it's a real and important distinction. I think there's some other important things that as a licensed regulated exchange, it gives us the ability to interact with banks around the world to give our clients fiat options. And it will also set the stage for us to be able to have better liquidity. So obviously, as many people know with Liquid and Quoine, one of our real strengths is the ability to have very high volumes, especially in the Japan yen markets. And we are, through our technology, our MMO technology, we're able to spread that liquidity to other currency markets, whether it be USD, BTC, Singapore dollar BTC, Euro BTC. We're gradually rolling out our MMO technology and spreading out that liquidity to other fiat pairings. And again, one of the key abilities that allows us to do this is the fact that we are licensed and regulated, and that in turn gives us the ability to open up bank accounts. So next question here is, in what areas does the Cash Liquid token intersect with your business development work? So it's a great question. And I'll combine that with another question about whether I personally hold cash. Let me start with that. I own a lot of cash. I invested a lot of my own funds in our ICO, and I still hold the vast majority of those cash tokens. And speaking for myself and other members of the management team that have been here for a while, we're all very invested in the success of cash. So that does drive our development in terms of using and developing cash utility on the Liquid exchange. And we actually have dedicated both management resources and engineering resources to implement cash utility. I believe there's a whole blog post coming out about what these utilities are going to be. But one I can speak of right now, which is we will tie in the introduction of fees for crypto withdrawals and give benefits to those that are holding cash. So there'll be a day one benefit that cash holders will see for holding cash and using cash in reduction of their fees. There's other utilities that we're planning with the cash rollout. I don't want to focus on that here, but we're well aware of the price action in cash, and what I can tell you is that we're determined to bring that value to the holders coming up as early as this March. So question number 10, for the customers you talk with, how important are faster withdrawals to them? So it's a great question. So it's important, right? And people rightly think when it's a cryptographic asset where they're relying on a financial institution like Quoine to custody that asset, that their ability to access it quickly is important in terms of having confidence in that institution. So we've also done a survey of our clients, and we've said, well, to what extent does the ability to access crypto quickly impact your decision to trade on the Liquid platform? And what we've seen is overwhelming response that having faster withdrawals encourages people to trade more frequently on our platform. And that in turn brings more liquidity, which brings an overall better client experience for everyone, whether you need the fast withdrawal or not. So that's been one of the main catalysts for us. We already knew this informally, but sending out the client survey, which we've been doing recently, really reaffirms what our thesis is, that is an important improvement to the client service level, which is exactly why we spent so much effort and engineering resources to improve on that service. And just the last point on how important it is to our clients, what we surveyed from our clients was, how does the withdrawal service impact their ability to trade? What we found was over 90% actually weigh heavily the ability to withdraw quickly. That determines whether they want to trade on Liquid or not. And so there's definitely a small fraction of people that are okay to wait for a day or two, but the vast majority we see need those faster service levels in order to trade more. Okay, so next question here. Have you seen any engagement for the advisory services that you mentioned? Yes, so we have decided to launch an advisory service for the many entrepreneurs and startups in the blockchain space that want to get involved in Japan. And there's really great reasons for wanting to get involved in Japan. Japan is really the first country in the world to develop at the national level a framework for what cryptocurrency is and a licensing regime for cryptocurrency exchanges. And so that's been a very progressive step forward here in Japan, and we think there's going to be more regulations that we see that are going through the diet right now that's going to further build upon that progressive attitude in Japan. And so it's quite natural that for startups that they're interested in coming into the Japanese market. That said, the market here is not that simple. There's regulators, there's bespoke AML, KYC requirements, there's a whole ecosystem of people involved in the blockchain space, and based on our long operating record here in Japan, over 5 years, that we think we can help some of these entrepreneurs and technology companies focus on blockchain, help them to navigate their journey here in Japan. And so this business is actually being led by my colleague Ray Tanaka, so he'll be speaking more about that, I'm sure, in future announcements. So there's a question here about when will other tokens such as ADA be added to Liquid? So I can't really speak exactly to one specific token and protocol. What I can say is that we recognize that there are really interesting technologies being developed in the blockchain space that, for instance, we started off with Ethereum, or we started off with the Bitcoin blockchain. Ethereum came around, I guess, about 3 or 4 years later. But the innovation is continuing apace, and we are looking at additional protocols to integrate to our exchange. I don't want to speak to any particular one, if we think about in Japan, there's actually a very rigorous process by which the regulator actually will need to review a new consensus protocol before we can even integrate that token or that blockchain protocol into our exchange. So to some extent, it requires an engagement with us, with our regulator, the JFSA, and approval for them before we can list that new token onto our exchange. That said, we're always looking for new technologies. Right now, I know there's a huge interest in Hedera Hashgraph, and we're looking at that protocol. We're looking at the Mimblewimble protocol. Obviously, Cardano is something we're looking at as well. And so a lot of those decisions and a lot of that development work is in process. I don't want to use this forum to make an announcement. We prefer to actually have an announcement about we're going to be listing that token at that point, rather as opposed to over-promising and under-delivering. But what I can tell you is we are forward-looking. We are interested in new technologies. We've integrated new protocols in the past, and it's something we're going to continue to work on. Okay, so next question. Are there any plans for a custody solution? I once heard Liquid was working on a relationship with MUFG, and we're exploring this. So the answer is yes, we are working on a custody business. I do want to be really clear though. We're going to approach this business very different than sort of traditional business, entities involved in this business. We are not looking at the traditional build of data centers, of bringing in a whole bunch of HSMs and withdrawal and sort of custody service level times of 36 hours. We think there's a better way to do it. We've identified a technology that we think is actually more secure, but actually also allows for better service levels. And I mentioned this technology, it's called multi-party computing. We have already integrated that technology into Liquid as our phase one. As a next phase, we are going to be extending the framework that we built and integration with MPC technology into a custodial solution that we are going to start offering to institutions, hedge funds, high net worth individuals, even individuals, right, as a service. And we expect that will be launching in Q2 of this year. So not in the distant future, we're talking in the short to medium term. As far as which existing custodians and trustees that we will be partnering with, I obviously can't talk about that. What I can say is that we're under non-disclosure agreements with several large custodians around the world. These are well-known players that we think, combined with our technology know-how and our implementation of this new method of managing cryptographic assets, it's going to be a very compelling offer, and I can't wait to start engaging with some of those hedge funds and crypto funds in the world that really need a good solution where they're looking for something better than a 36-hour or a 24-hour turnaround. Okay, so next question. Are there plans to create a Liquid bundle similar to Coinbase bundle, which essentially is something you can buy that contains a few cryptocurrencies in a collected package? So I think what this is very similar to sort of, an ETF. Definitely we're looking at those types of products. I'm not sure how successful they've been to date, what the exact demand is, but we are looking at what we're calling it like a Liquid 10. And this product would be an amalgamation of the top 10 market cap cryptos in the world. It'll give the ability of people, just like an ETF, to get exposure to a particular segment without having to own the underlying assets. So it's something we're looking at. We don't have a planned date yet. And we're observing what's going on in the industry. We've seen the products at Coinbase. And we're certainly open to suggestions. So nothing right now, I want to be clear, set expectations, but it's certainly something we've looked at. So next question, what financial management steps does Liquid take to ensure there's enough money to operate and develop the business? Great question. Like I said earlier, I think based on the failures of exchanges in the very recent past, it's a very reasonable question to ask. And like I said before, we have to segregate assets on a daily basis. We monitor account balances. Further, we have to demonstrate that we have this segregation of assets, both to our internal auditors as well as to external regulators on a regular basis. So it's something that we spend a lot of time on, we've invested in heavily, and we believe is a real differentiator for us going forward. So next question, why is the crypto market in such a downtrend at the moment? So that's a great question. As you all know, we're in crypto winter. I think there's two parts here. So how did we get here? But more importantly, how do we get out of this situation? And so how we got in this place, I think, I think oftentimes with the new technology, the expectations can run far ahead of the actual utility. And that's probably what really happened in the crypto space, that the expectations of the value that blockchain technology will deliver to people and the value of the tokens that run on top of the blockchains got really a lot of excitement and perhaps potentially farther ahead. One way I sort of measure actual adoption and utility of crypto, there's a website called DApp Radar, and every day I look on there and it shows me how many users there are of decentralized applications today on the blockchain. And we're still into the thousands, not even really into the tens of thousands yet. So if we think about what's happened and the huge price movements up in late 2017 and early 2018, and then sort of the crypto winter we've been in for quite a while now, a lot of that is simply the enthusiasm running out of steam. And that's okay. This is cyclical. Bitcoin has been in cycles. Many people have talked about it over its 9 years of existence at this point. The real question I think that I focus on and that we think about a lot here is, how do we get out of this? And I think one way we get out of this, and we get out of this crypto winter as we head into spring, is really finding and focusing on projects and use cases for blockchain that actually bring value to people's lives. And so, as I mentioned in a previous question, one of the first things we're focusing on is developing our merchant services business. That we think there's a great opportunity to make crypto easier to use, to disrupt existing payment systems that have a lot of intermediaries, that have a lot of fees associated with it. And we can do so with some of the improvements that have happened in blockchain very recently. On the Bitcoin network, there's been the introduction of Lightning. There's other tools that we've identified that we believe can bring down for instance, the time that it takes for a Bitcoin to be confirmed. We can take it down from minutes or 30, 40 minutes down to as short as 6 seconds. And when you start putting in faster deposit time, faster withdrawal time, all of a sudden crypto becomes much more user-friendly for people. Development of wallets, both by ourselves and other people in the ecosystem, is another part of making crypto easier, more functional for people. We see more and more projects actually focusing on delivering value. And so that's where our focus is, and we think that's going to help the overall ecosystem improve over time as more and more people start to adopt, and the existing players in the cryptocurrency industry actually develop tools that are useful for people like my mom. You'll see better adoption, you'll see better price action, and we'll start to see some market sentiment change. So, next question, how eventful will the next 6 months be compared to the previous 6? Well, I mean, here at Quoine, I think we're always running at 100 miles per hour, so I can't say the next 6 months will be any less eventful. What I do hope will happen is that Quoine, we will start to roll out some of these really important features for our user base. So I can talk about a few of those now. So another key feature that we're working on is the quick buy feature, so that people will very easily and quickly be able to buy and sell their crypto just by clicking of one button. There's other features we're working on. The cash utility will be coming. So, as I mentioned, another key development is the development of our liquid merchant services, our custodial offering. These are all things that are really taking up a lot of our time, as well as I mentioned earlier, about speeding up our crypto withdrawals to get to a sub 5 minute. These are things that it takes a lot of planning, a lot of back testing, and I have no doubt the next 6 months will be just as interesting and as busy as the past 6 months. So last question, how significant of an effect will enabling fees have for Liquid's customers? So, right, so as many people know, as well as our crypto withdrawal fees, historically we haven't had any fees for trading on fiat to crypto pairs. We've looked at this very carefully, and what I can say is our introduction of additional fees at any part of our platform are being accompanied with equal and offsetting improvements to our service levels. So that'll be the same for our withdrawal process. It'll be the same for our traders. That we are adding in new features that will sort of make the introduction of fees more palatable for our user base. So I want to thank everyone for listening to the AMA today. Appreciate the great questions. I'm sure I didn't cover all of them. But what I really want to leave people with is the idea that we are really excited, that we think the best days are ahead for crypto, for blockchain, that we're honored, I feel personally honored to be part of this industry and being part of a team that's really building a business and in some ways helping to build an entire ecosystem that will eventually serve humanity with a better way of life. And that's what we believe in terms of blockchain. Right now, market sentiment's not the best, but it's never a smooth path upwards, right? There's always going to be ups and downs. The important part is we are committed to really serving our clients, serving our cash holders, and helping to develop blockchain be adopted in the mainstream. And I'm really no less excited today than I was a year and a half ago when I first came to Japan to join Quoine. So thank you very much. We look forward to your continued engagement. I love all of the telegrams and emails, messages I get from people. Keep it up. We listen to all of it. We don't necessarily respond to it all of the time. I get a lot, but we always think about it, and we appreciate the engagement, and we're really looking forward to what's coming up even in this next quarter. Thank you.